Ashes, smoke, shame. These three words hung over America in the early months of 1942. The Pacific was on fire. Guam fell. Wake fell. Fort Corregidor in the Philippines fell. The Japanese steamroller seemed unstoppable. A nation that had hesitated yesterday about whether to go to war was now furious. But that fury was poisoned by the bitterness of powerlessness. Where was our fleet? Where was our response? The question hung in the air, heavy as lead. The answer came from the White House, and it was insane. President Roosevelt demanded the impossible from his military: to strike Japan itself, immediately. It wasn't just a military raid that was needed. A blow to the spirit was needed. A retaliatory action that would make Tokyo tremble. A problem with no solution. Until one man took on the task. That man was Captain Francis Lowe, Deputy Chief of Staff to Admiral King. January 1942. He was watching exercises in Norfolk. The outline of an aircraft carrier deck was painted on the runway, and he saw twin-engine Mitchell B-25 Army bombers flying low over this painted deck. A thought flashed through his mind. What if an Army bomber could take off from the deck of a real aircraft carrier? It could carry a bomb load that was beyond the reach of carrier-based aircraft, and it could do it, fly to Japan. The idea was taken up by Captain Donald Duncan. He took out his maps and slide rules and turned a crazy fantasy into a cold calculation. The conclusion was harsh. The only way out was for the aircraft carrier to get as close as possible, for the bombers to take off, bomb Japan, and not return to the ship. They would not be able to return to the deck. Their path lay further west, to China, to the territory controlled by their ally, Chiang Kai-shek. The calculation was made at random. Everything depended on chance and the skill of the pilots. The project was given the dry name Special Aviation Mission Number 1. The commander of this mission was sought for a long time. They needed more than just an excellent pilot. They needed a leader, an engineer, a man who could make others believe in the impossible. The choice fell on Lieutenant Colonel Jimmy Doolittle, 45 years old, short, wiry, with a steely grip. In peacetime, he was an aviation legend, a pioneer of blind instrument flying, winner of transcontinental races. When he was called and asked how long it would take to prepare the crews of medium bombers for takeoff from a 150-meter deck, he answered without hesitation. Thus began the Doolittle School. 24 crews, 140 people. None of them knew where they were going or why. They were taught to take off from a simulated deck only 140 meters long, with full fuel tanks and bombs. Everything unnecessary was removed from the bombers: lower turrets, secret Norden equipment. Instead of machine guns, they installed black mock-ups of sticks in the tail section to make them look threatening from the ground. Every gram of weight went to fuel. Each crew clenched their fists. Doolittle was everywhere. He was respected and a little feared. He was the embodiment of the mission. On April 2, 1942, the aircraft carrier USS Hornet sailed from San Francisco under heavy escort. On its deck, chained down, were 16 huge, clumsy B-25s. They looked out of place there, like elephants on the deck of a yacht. Only when the ship reached the open ocean did Doolittle gather everyone on deck. He showed them the planes, the propellers in their covers, and finally unfolded a map. Doolittle said, "Gentlemen, our target is Japan. We will take off here, 400 miles from the coast. We will strike the military factories and shipyards in Tokyo, Yokohama, Nagoya, and Kobe. Then we will head for China. The shock quickly passed. It was replaced by feverish preparation. The navigators checked their chronometers. The pilots studied maps of Japan, where each factory was marked with a pin. They joked that they would be the first Americans to serve bacon and eggs for breakfast to Emperor Hirohito. April 18th. The starting point is still unknown, 200 miles away. Suddenly, contact. The Japanese patrol boat Nito Maru. It was spotted and sunk, but it was too late. Radio intercepts confirmed that Tokyo had been warned. The element of surprise, the mission's only trump card, was lost. Admiral Halsey, commanding the operation from his flagship, the Enterprise, sent a historic radio message. Go, forward, by the will of God. Doolittle made a fateful decision to take off right now. 200 miles further, 200 miles closer to death. A wave. The ship dips its nose down, then rises to the crest. Doolittle's plane takes off first. It races across the deck, its left wheel already hanging over the water, and it breaks off. A miracle. Behind it, the second, the third. Captain Jeff Ross's 16th plane digs its wheels into the crest of the wave, but struggles to break free into the sky. 80 men, 16 planes. At 8:20 a.m., the last B-25 disappears into the low clouds. The aircraft carrier turns and heads east at full speed. They flew at low altitude, just above the water, so as not to be detected by radar. Japan was peacefully asleep on Empire Day, a national holiday. Suddenly, at 12:30 p.m., low-flying planes with identification marks that the Japanese had never seen so close appeared over Tokyo. Was this really a drill? Bombs fell on the steel mill, power station, gas tanks, and shipyards. The damage was not catastrophic, but the psychological effect was staggering. Bombs were exploding in the sacred capital of the empire, which the command had sworn to consider impregnable. Airplanes with star-spangled flags. One of them even had to dodge a limousine, which, as it turned out later, contained Emperor Hirohito himself. No one could stop them. The fighters did not have time to take off. Anti-aircraft guns fired at random, and 5 minutes after the raid began, the planes were already returning to the sea, with impunity. Now their personal war for survival began. Night. Storm. Fuel reserves at zero. The Chinese coast, which was supposed to meet them with prepared airfields, was hidden by a veil of rain and the chaos of war. The message about the postponement of takeoff did not arrive in time. One after another, the crews made the terrible decision to jump into the darkness over unfamiliar land or to land on the water near the coast. 15 planes crashed in the vicinity of China. The crew of the 16th, seeing that they had no fuel, set course for Vladivostok in the Soviet Union, where they were interned. Of the 80 people who took off from the Hornet, 69 were rescued with the help of Chinese peasants and partisans. 3 died during the jump or landing. 8 of them were taken prisoner by the Japanese. 3 of them, Dean Hallmark, Bill Farrow, and Harold Spatz, were executed after a show trial. Another died in captivity. The remaining 4 went through the hell of military prisons, but survived. The Japanese took revenge on the Chinese civilians who had sheltered the pilots. Up to 250,000 people died in the punitive operations. Shock and panic reigned in Japan. The invincibility of the archipelago turned out to be a myth. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, commander of the combined fleet, who had been reluctant to attack Pearl Harbor in the first place, was furious. His worst fears had been confirmed. Now he had carte blanche for an operation he had been planning for a long time. to lure out and destroy the American aircraft carriers once and for all. During this operation, he would head for an atoll called Midway. In America, the news of the raid caused an explosion of jubilation. The country, hungry for good news, got it in spades. Newspaper headlines screamed, "Tokyo bombed!" Doolittle became a national hero. He was promoted to brigadier general, then major general, and awarded the Medal of Honor. But he himself was depressed. He considered the mission a failure because of the loss of planes and men. At the award ceremony, President Roosevelt told the press with a sly smile that the planes had taken off from the secret base at Shangri-La. This joke lifted the nation's morale to unprecedented heights. For Japan, it was a blow to its pride and strategy. It forced the empire to abandon its defensive peripheral strategy and embark on an adventure to destroy American aircraft carriers. This adventure led them straight to disaster at Midway in June 1942, which became a turning point in the Pacific War. For America, it was a cleansing, healing the wounds after Pearl Harbor, proof that Japan could be defeated, a burst of frenzied energy and belief in victory. For the whole world, it was a lesson in desperate courage. 80 volunteers who knew they would most likely not return, but went ahead anyway to lift the spirits of the entire nation. When Doolittle was asked after the war if the raid had been justified, he replied, "Yes, it forced Japan to make fatal mistakes, and it showed our boys that the Japanese were not superhuman. They could be defeated." On April 18, 1942, 16 metal birds took off from the deck of a ship in a burst of hope. And they didn't just drop a few dozen bombs. They cast a shadow of doubt on the empire of the rising sun. And they lit a spark of defiance in the heart of America. It wasn't just a point. It was a bold, decisive, daring ellipsis, after which the real war began. Doolittle's raid proved that the Americans had not come just to fight. They had come to win. Not a single member of the crew refused to fly. Not one. They were the best of the best.